Welcome to Slow Unpacking, where we unpack magic, but take our sweet time with it. Another pack from Kaldheim today? Why this fast after each other? This might get less views. Well, because I plan in advance and this is better, but I still want to upload consistently. Trust me, okay? Okay, thanks for the explanation. Let's begin then. Funeral Longboat by Donato Giancola. Flavor: cast onto the windless water, he drifted until the sea turned to sky. The first card of a second pack, and it is a card that we have seen before. No problem though, I was prepared for this. So let's take a look at some more art from Donato and why this piece is like this. The first is an almost direct comparison where we see an important character, a ship, the sea as a motif, and a feeling of death. It can be hard to show us something that ended, but Donato does it here. Now let us look more at the composition and style. The vibe I pick up is that the character is actually very beautiful itself, but there is something else that takes most of the stage. Here, for example, it is the spell that the card is about, that is fiery and even sets the already dead tree on fire. But with the boat, we see the theme of the giant tree of Kaldheim with its roots in the all-important water of the infinite sea, making us think about how the tree's roots link to infinity. If you of course think about it long enough. Strategic Planning, also by Donato Giancola. Flavor: Elrond sees the future as a wall of signs and symbols, omens, interwoven into an intricate knotwork only he can decipher. Donato again. So here we see Elrond, who is already well made, but again, the most important part is the spell itself. The raven in the background signify another way to make the spell feel unique to Elrond. This is the first time we see a mention of Elrond. He is the god of knowledge. Knowledge he gained by trying to fight all the cosmos monsters, for which he had to travel through planes a lot. We know that Elrond can seem preoccupied and only talks in riddles for long periods of time. Here we see why. He sees the future in the form of riddles, signs and symbols. So he tries to decipher what he has seen through the coming period of time, and you are better off not bothering him while he is doing so. Before we saw Celandine vision, and here we see Elrond looking into the future in the form of swirls. I think this version of seeing the future is a lot more subtle and personal to the character. Elrond seems to be having trouble with deciphering this riddle, while the other vision was just a vision of the island that Youre had to look for. Elrond is a little bit like us when we try to decipher a magic story through the symbols of the cards we get. Tormenters Helm by Zoltan Boros. I was beginning to miss Zoltan in my packs, but here he is again. This seems like a normal helmet, but this is Zoltan, so what's up? The helmet is tormenting? Well, the helmet is on fire, so I do know why the wearer might want to torment others too. The second cool part about this card is that the helmet has tusks. Okay, now that I think about it, this is a Zoltan card. Dealing 1 damage to a defending player is usually something devils do. So it is interesting, as this might have something to do with a certain trickster from the set. Or it might just belong to one of the large demons from Immerstorm, but I doubt that this would fit on their heads. Jaspera Sentinel by Raoul Vitale. Flavor: the arrows of the elvish elite strike as true and deadly as the fangs of the cosmos serpent they revere. Jaspera are a collection of 7 trees in elven lands that are said to have gods imprisoned in them. They have all grown traits corresponding to the gods that they have absorbed. These elves are guarding these trees as they have healing powers, or can sometimes grant elves unbreakable weapons. This card, like many elven cards, references Koma, the cosmos serpent. The elves believe that the snake that is now imprisoned in the cosmos with the branches of the world tree should be freed. The elves believe this angry snake could harm the world tree and they prefer to free it. Don't worry, more on this later. Mechanically, I do not really like this card, but it is still a more balanced version of Llanowar Elf that can sometimes block a flyer once. Still very serviceable, I just don't like tapping 2 creatures. Way Down by John Di Giovanni. Flavor: the Draugr often drown intruders. Years later, their corpses rise from the depths to join the ranks of the dread Marn. This is a very cruel death, where the Viking probably will not get into Starnheim. Either way, they will become a zombie anyways. I love that the focus is first on the helmet, so that you do not have to stare at someone drown in yellow water. Yellow water could signify many things. Here I believe it's more about the fact that gold weighs the person down. Last time we saw many people coming to Karfell, the lands of Draugrs, in order to find gold. So that might be what this card means. Your greed weighing you down to your eternal life. Marn is the name of the army of King Narfi. This is because his army is probably dreadful and because he keeps his wealth in the port of Marn. Probably the reason people come there. The point is that this is all very ironic and we would never have gathered this information without speculating about the card's art. See the importance of looking at the card slowly? Elderleaf Mentor by Zoltan Boros. Flavor: our ancestors grew complacent in their divinity, allowing their lessers to topple them. Never again. Zoltan is making up for his lack of art in the last pack. This mentor will not be toppled by his students like his gods were by theirs. We often see old people being stubborn in this way, and it gives the younger elves the chance to grow. In the art we see the other elf in the background, which I really like. This one even seems poised to defeat his mentor from the shadows, or they might still be having their mentors back. Also plausible. Though the mentor is pretty ready too, not willing to let his title go to waste and also letting us know that the elves respect their elders. Also note that this elder does not seem old, probably because of the long lifespans elves have. See how we learn about the world by simply looking at a card for way too long? This mentor has taught us the virtue of patience. Man, I am getting old. Raider's Scarf by Aaron Miller. So far we have seen Aaron make Totally Lost, a zombie cat, a zombie priest and now a boat. All cards with a massive focus on the creatures in the art. Here we see a massive focus on the boat. A very iconic Viking-like boat. And finally a boat that is logical to crew. Not one with a dead king on it, not just a boat, but a small carve, which is a ship that was used for transport and sometimes war, as the ship could reach many places with shallow water around it. Very good for raiding your neighbors, for example, while letting them think you come for a trade. This boat lets you explore new lands, while it does help you gain power as you go from crewing with 3 to attacking with 4 power, exactly like a Karfell. Youre All of the Forsaken by Chris Gold. Wow, this Youre All seems very Forsaken indeed, but they are also the Youre All of the Forsaken. So you can see the skeletons it is apparently reviving in the foreground. But the creature that was dealt damage on the other side is Forsaken as well. It knows its fate when it has been dealt damage in Draugr land. This does not foretell good things. The art with the blue flames is really awesome here. I have to say that I am really intrigued. This might just be a creature that finishes another creature off, like an assassin, though it seems more like a necromancer in this art. I feel like someone should reuse this card for a new card with its own story. This is my second favorite art of this pack, and looking at Chris's other art, it is extra special. Chris makes art that makes me feel like all might be lost, but often there is something soft in them that we are afraid to lose. This character has something human left in it. That's why I think I need more story about it. Code Spell Cleric by Manuel Castanon. Today, we are not Beskar or Tuscari. We must fight as one clan, shoulder to shoulder, to find our rightful home. Last week we saw Manuel making Beskar shield mates. Here we see him creating the law speakers who seem to have magic that controls the law of the clans. This one and strengthens his friends, and he calls out to Tuscari. Why? Because they stand for large acts, so he's invoking the power of his friends to strengthen and embolden his soldiers. The Code of Laws also state that they should embrace even enemies as their esteemed guests. I am personally guessing that this speaker is letting this one law slide for this time by saying that for today, everyone may act like a Tuscari. Imagine the glee from these people that were forced not to fight so often and now finally getting a green light. It is interesting to see how this is the first card showing us the battle between the Draugr and the humans of Bretagard, while this was such a big part of the story. Duel Strike by Nestor Osandon Leal. Can you imagine throwing 2 axes at once? What do you use to balance? You cannot use your other arm, so you have to use your core for all of it. This card's motif of fire is really strong as well. Were those axes aflame from the start, or were they thrown so fast that they caught fire from the motion? Does this also mean that demons are not flammable? It is a demon that is throwing these, right? I mean, look at that spiky thing. Wait, is that the Torturer's helmet from before? This strong, fitting motif of fire makes this card my third favorite art, because it fits in so nicely with the gold lens. Plus, it just looks so metal. Hailstorm Valkyrie by Bram says, when the path to Starnheim was opened, vengeance rained down upon the enemies of Bretagard. Man, what beautiful elemental colors today. Last week we saw Agar of the freezing flame. Now we see burning axes and frozen wings. The snowy plain of Kaldheim has a surprising amount of fire. But here we see an aspect of ice that is sometimes underrated. How it can be a weapon. Valkyries did not fight much, but the black-aligned ones did fight a lot of cowards. You can imagine how throwing ice can help you catch someone that is running away from you. I also want to look at other art from Bram, as this is my favorite art from the pack. Bram often shows us the slimy, gooey, realistic murk on a creature. I think the perfect form of this is Neoform, but also in the light of Chance for Glory and Buccaneer's Bravado, or even the ice here. You can feel it surround you if you think just hard enough. Scamfar Elder Hall by Johannes Vos. We saw how elves respect their elders, which is why they have a hall that is only for the adults. A sort of man cave for the elderly, but then with trees and big chairs. Green lets you create 2 elves and black lets you kill an opponent. The colors of the elves of Kaldheim are evident. I want to know who would like to discuss stuff in such a hall. I would feel a little awkward personally. Maybe that's a thing that comes with age too. Waking the Trolls by Daniel Lundgren. First of all, I want to give you a little gift that I will put into the description as well. Big Bits MTG is a gameplay channel that has featured this card in his gameplay, just because it is in this video. So check it out after this video, of course. The story here is that the trolls once ravaged the lands. We see some sort of light and some trees, to me signifying that the trolls were turning into land, and then when the ice begins to break, the trolls ravaged once more. Now do note that the card itself is made in ice as well. That is a cool touch. Never wake the trolls, that is clear. They will rampage your lands, conquer it, and then create new trolls on your own land. That's a sad story. I do love playing with this though, and it is pretty easy to play around it. Just make sure to kill your opponent or have an answer before things get worse. Do you have stories of awesome games with this? Snow-Covered Mountain by Adam Paquette. We can see how this land is different. It has snow on it, duh. But we can also see how this is the same. It is still a mountain and it is still a volcano. Which is a little weird, but creative nonetheless. The interesting part from this land is that it is also from Adam. Just like the plains from last week were. But here we have a volcano covered in snow. How does that work? This is probably where the thunder of Kaldheim comes from. All this contrast between fiery axes and volcanoes and frozen wings and snow. Coma's Faithful by Caroline Gariba. Flavor? Great Serpent, hear my song. We wait, our faith unshaken, for your glorious return. What a beautiful card this is. You cannot see it, but the light from the hands of this elf are more foil as are the petals. This makes this piece really come even more alive. Elves respect their elderly as they are even closer to their revered snake. The black of the elves stands for tradition and keeping things like the old ways. Coma's digging through the earth, left behind tunnels, and now the elves tend to it to try to keep it like it was. Like an overly attached ex-girlfriend. I think it is interesting that these elves do not synergize with the snake at all. It just wants to grow, and the elves are about milling and elf stuff. I think this ties into the fact that the elves have forgotten what coma is really like. They have forgotten so much that they have stopped being simicolors and started being Golgari as they mourn their losses. Mourning is a very black aligned thing to do, now that I think about it. That's interesting. Thank you for watching, that's all I really want to say. But I did have some more ideas that I already shared on Twitter. My monkey brain linked those ideas to the amount of subscribers I get, and so in just 70 more subs we will evolve this channel.